Today, our primary topic is around self-care and resilience for leaders in a crisis, of which I know there are many of you on this call each week. I made a little list of the various things that we've been coping with. We started off with remote working, changes to working practices. We had COVID security, furloughing. Thankfully, Helen has helped us navigate that. We've had to shield employees. We've had shielding employees. We've had redundancies. We've had employee engagement, cyber security. We've had to pivot into new markets. We've had cash flow problems. Thank you, David Tomlinson, for your support always around that. We've had CBILS bounce backs, employee mental health, and at the bottom of the list, our own mental health. Well, let's start thinking about that right now. I'm delighted to introduce Frances Walker. She's an executive mindset coach. That's what I'm calling you today, Frances. She's from Huntsville, Alabama in the USA, where she's a certified mindset and business coach. She's affiliated to a number of very high-level trade and community bodies over in the US, and has been the lead mindset coach for the Powerful Living Experience. If you don't know what that is, it's one of the top 3 personal development events for entrepreneurs in the US, run by Inc. magazine. So Frances, I'm going to hand over to you to work your magic. It's a slightly different format because Frances is going to share some slides with us, and we look forward to hearing what you've got to say. Over to you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really do appreciate your time. And when Steve invited me on, I kind of pointed out I do things a bit differently than most mindset coaches out there. Because you guys, any single one of you, that list, like just going through the list of things, right, that weigh us down as entrepreneurs or executives, it can just become a lot. And every single one of you has the ability to go on Facebook or Google and get some motivation, some quasi-life coaching, and it doesn't end up into tangible results that can impact you today. So that's my goal for every presentation that I do, is not to be your mindset coach, but to train you in such a way that you become your own mindset coach. And that you are left with some actionable steps that can impact you today, actually develop a healthier emotional outlook today. So interestingly, I'd love to, because I do things so structured and kind of teachy trainy, I'd love to stop and just hear if any of you have 1 or 2 razor focused examples of something that is causing you a lot of stress, anxiety, overwhelm, something that almost like nags on you like a weight back here in the back of your head. Could somebody be super brave with your best friends here and unmute and just give me an example that I can work with off that nice list that Steve gave?
I'm going to give you one to start with, Frances. I think handling redundancies of people that have been with the company for a long time was quite a difficult emotional journey for us. And it certainly wasn't anything we would have contemplated without the pandemic sort of forcing our hand on that.
Got it. And okay, redundancies are y'all's version of layoffs, right? Is that okay? Just to be clear, I'm from Alabama, y'all. Okay. So we as entrepreneurs, I'm going to ask you guys one question, and not that you answer this now, but on your own time later today. If you were to calculate the amount of time that you spend on an average day in stress, anxiety, overwhelm, lack of clarity, procrastination mode, just in general not feeling good emotionally, how much time would that be? Okay, if you guys just get really real with yourself and answer that question at some point today, because oftentimes we're told a lot about emotions that are not very helpful, that they're unreliable, that they're not trustworthy. And I'm here to tell you that they're 10%, okay, that's about 2.5 hours a day. Okay, good answer, okay. 4 is research shows that most entrepreneurs, CEO levels spend about 4. If you calculate that out into work weeks, that averages out to be about 36 work weeks worth of time that we spend in any given year stressed, anxious, overwhelmed. And the important part about that, for people who are out living a mission, right? You guys have a lot of responsibilities, is that it cuts you off from your ability to think proactively. We get very reactive, right? There's a lot of redundancies. There's a lot of layoffs. There's a lot of stressors, and we spend our day being very reactive versus shifting into high energy, high emotional confidence, peace, control, and becoming very proactive. What can I take with what I've been given, what life has given me, and use it to my advantage, use it to my company's advantage, use it to my employees' advantage? How do we get proactive in that? It starts with emotions and how reliable they are. So since I've only got about 15 minutes, I know we have a hard stop, I wanted to kind of tell this in story mode, okay, so that it's very relatable. Everybody's burned themselves when they're cooking, right? Because I'm going to tell you something about emotions most of you probably have not heard. Everybody's burned themselves when they are cooking. So you burn yourself and you don't have to think about it, and you snap your hand back, right? Yes, everybody's nodding, yeah? Okay, that is the infinitely intelligent design of your system to give you that signal of pain, okay? In this story, right, we might not like the pain. We don't enjoy the pain, the sensation of being burned, right? But if it weren't for that sensation, what would we do? We wouldn't recognize our hands on a frying pan, right? The pain is not the problem in the scenario. The pain is the blessing, signaling to your body, hey, something you're physically doing right now, something physically going on is not good for you. Okay, it's harmful. And if you can figure out what that thing is, you should stop doing that thing, right? It would make no sense for any of us to leave our hand on a frying pan and go continue try to cook and think, what's wrong with me? Why does my hand hurt? Why is my hand always hurting, right? But we as entrepreneurs, we hang out with this emotional, what's wrong with me? Why am I so stressed out? Why can't I, da, 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 on and on and on. What we're not told about our emotions, while we might be told they're fickle, they're untrustworthy, or even at the highest end that they're neutral, we're never told that our stress, anxiety, overwhelm, feeling of fatigue, being worn out by the pressures of life are actually that same kind of blessing, okay? And when we can start connecting into that, it's this weird paradox where we can shift out of it extremely easy and back into powerfully creating into the future. Okay, so just like in the physical example, there's something physically not that great for you. When you experience any form of emotional pain, so this is the first thing, if you just think of all emotions in two, like either feel good or feel bad, whenever you feel some form of bad, here's the first key. You are believing something that is untrue, okay? In personal development woo-woo world, we call it a limiting belief. I don't know if anybody's heard of limiting beliefs. Essentially, a limiting belief is something subconsciously that you were pre-programmed in from childhood, that this is how we think, this is how we operate, this is how the world works. It's the how. How am I thinking about myself? How am I thinking about other people? Or how am I thinking about this experience of COVID and layoffs and the constant red tape, right? And some people out there collecting a check, not working, and it's making it hard for me to do my job and live my mission, all these things, okay? What's happening is that emotional pain is exactly like the physical pain. So y'all will never forget that, okay? It's your emotional guidance system saying to you, hey, you're believing something that's untrue. If you can figure out what that thing is, and you can see the truth of the experience that you're in, you can go take your hand off the frying pan and go live powerfully, okay? So that's the first thing. Practical tip number one, anytime you experience any form of emotional pain, to just stop and non-judgmentally look at it and say, okay, in this moment, what am I believing that could be untrue, Okay, so now I'm going to screen share and show you what this looks like graphically. Okay. And I'm not monitoring the chat. So if Steve, if anything pops into the chat that I need to become aware of, would you please make me aware of it? Okay, this is called what I call a belief result feedback loop. You can go back to the roots of personal development, like way, way back, and see psychologists and theorists beginning to talk about this without quite laying it out this way. And I'm a very visual person, so I like giving these things visually. Okay, so what happens is we as entrepreneurs, we as high achieving individuals want to focus on our actions or inaction, right? The things that we know would move us forward, but we're scared of doing, so we don't take action on it. Our actions and inactions, and we focus on these and we spend a lot of time and energy trying to fix this, trying to fix the situation in your business, the redundancies, the layoffs. Like, I'm going to focus on this. What's wrong with them? Why aren't they doing what they're supposed to be doing? And what else do I need to be doing? Right? And we can get almost in like this hamster wheel of activity where we're going as entrepreneurs. And we're like, why are we not getting anywhere? This is the reason why. This is kind of the hamster wheel. We focus on the actions, we expect different results, and that's not always what happens, okay? So the next thing that I want to teach you and train you on is any area in your business or personal life, especially the speaker didn't get to it right before me about self-care and how that's the one thing that totally goes out the window when we have all the external pressures, especially with children, right? Everybody's needs comes before our needs. When we are doing and not getting different results, to step back and say, let me reverse engineer this and figure out what I'm believing that may be leading to it, okay? So I'm gonna pop back and give you an example, okay? Super, super, super easy to understand example, not related to business, but we've all been there. 98% of self-care goals, New Year's resolution don't happen. We might say, I'm gonna start working out or taking care of myself, but then we feel, right, we get frustrated, we don't know why, and by the time it's January 3rd and we're eating cake again, like, we don't even know what's going on, right? Okay, so for instance, if we have programming from childhood around, we don't have time for that. I don't have time. You don't have time, right? No, you can't do this. We don't have time. Okay, so you heard this ongoing story about not having time. No judgment in it. It's a story a lot of us run as entrepreneurs. I don't have time for that. I don't have time to deal with this red tape. I don't have time to deal with that thing. Just don't have time, okay? If that's the subconscious belief, and oftentimes people think it's hard to get to your subconscious belief, it's not. You just got to reverse engineer. Why am I doing that? Okay, if I start hearing that a lot, then that's the entire conscious story that I'm experiencing life as. Now, as a parent, I don't have time and I'm always late. As an entrepreneur, I don't have time. And then what happens? We get frustrated. So what happens? Something that might take 5 minutes, we lose our proactivity, we lose our efficiency, our problem-solving ability, and something that might actually take 5 minutes to do now has taken us 5 hours of mental energy, and we don't do the thing, and then we always get a result. See, I didn't have time. We always get results for our subconscious beliefs, and on and on and on the hamster wheel goes. So say for, I'm trying to think of a good example. If we were running a script from childhood, most of us had this is not about trauma in childhood, sometimes very good intentioned things like, I don't want to bother. That's a big one in business, right? We might be wanting to find new employees that really want to show up powerfully for a business, or we might want to reach out to somebody that can solve our redundancy issue in our business. But if we look at that phone and have this subconscious programming around, you don't speak until you're spoken to. right? Or it's not nice to bother people. Or maybe you were a middle child or a little kid, you had siblings, like, stop bothering me, stop bothering me, stop bothering me. And now that's subconsciously programmed in this script. Then we go experience life and we're sitting at our desk and we want to pick up the phone and call somebody to fix our problem or to fix their problem, to actually serve them. And all of a sudden we have these conscious thoughts. I don't want to bother them. And then we feel scared. And then we don't take action. And then see, on and on and on, or vice versa. Somebody in my business could reach out to me and I don't want to pick up the phone because I don't want to be bothered, right? And now I am feeling bothered. Whoops, I made my little thingy move. Now I don't want to be bothered. They might have had the absolute solution to my problem, but here I am being reactive because my emotions are hollering at me. That feeling of bother, Steve, it's not true. It's not true. You're believing right now they're going to bother you, but your body, that sophistication of the emotional discomfort is trying to tell you that's not actually true. So if we can step back and say, well, what are they actually calling me for? Or why am I actually calling them? To serve them, to support them, for them to serve me, to support me. Then what do we get? Results that combat that subconscious belief. And through that, when you consciously experience life that way, you can give yourself permission, instead of focusing on the actions and waiting till we get new results, which can take years or decades. It happens, but it can take a long time. We can back it up and say, what am I believing in this practical situation that might not be true, that I can, this is the last tip. If there's one sentence you hear me say, if I can give myself permission to make a new decision, beliefs are decisions. I believe I'm going to have tacos for dinner tonight. I have decided I'm going to have tacos for dinner tonight. I believe the person on the other end of that phone is going to bother me. I have decided they're going to bother me, or vice versa. If I can give myself permission first to change my belief, my decision about myself, about others, or about this experience that I'm in, this COVID pandemic experience that I'm in, then my conscious thoughts, the story will change. I will feel back in that confidence, the peace, because my body's telling me you're on the right track here. Then I take different actions and we increase the likelihood. This is not a magic wand. This is about increasing the probability of getting new results. And now we're in a totally new belief result feedback loop. And we step one step to the right of our hamster wheel. And now with much less effort, much less mental energy, we can actually move forward in our life and our business. So that's like the root of what I do and how I train people. I hope that was really, really practical for you guys in terms of thinking about, it's the problem's not the problem. The problem is how I'm thinking about the problem and how can I change that first to get a new result. Okay, I'm all done. Sorry I didn't get to be too conversational with you guys, but I really hope that was helpful and valuable.
Well, Frances, thank you so much for giving what I think is quite a deep subject, a very good approach in such a short space of time, and sticking to the time limit. But you've clearly got so much more that feeds off the back of that. Would you be happy if I shared your information in case anybody wanted to reach out and have a chat with you?
Absolutely. If anybody has questions or is interested in learning more, I'm very, very casual with it. It's just a simple conversation. And thank you. I'd love for you to share my information.
Well, that's very generous of you. Thank you.